this driver just starts screaming, "It doesn't have regulation lights, doesn't have regulation lights." And well, everyone's like, what are you talking about? I go, that. And outside the window, about 100 feet long, 100 yards long, is this huge pink orb, cigar-shaped sort of orby thing, just flying in at the same speed as them. Gary Nolan has the revelation. Is no spoiler in episode 2, but he has this revelation when he sees the Communion cover that, wait a minute, I saw that one of those. I thought I was dreaming. So, and he's just one of millions of people that have had these experiences that were always too afraid to say something. And now they're not. Abductions to seeing UFOs, out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, all these things that are happening essentially without perception, without mind. That was an idea that we thought would be really interesting to go into if we could get really, not too scientific, but really try and unpack the fact that how much of this is our perception. It's something we're perceiving for some reason.
The following is a conversation with director Paul Crowder discussing his latest docuseries, Beyond UFOs and the Unknown, out now on MGM+. Paul is an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, director, editor and producer whose expertise spans music documentaries, sports films, aviation, and this recent project in UFOs, plus another one prior to this. He's also a musician and had a successful career in the music industry as well. Paul has so many credits to his name with exceptional films, many of which are award-winning or nominated. So to take on the UFO subject has been incredibly exciting for many of us deep in the UFO UAP topic, especially considering his previous work and considering the rest of the team behind this show, including people like J.J. Abrams, Mark Monroe, who directed 2 of the 4 episodes of Beyond, and Glenn Zipper, Kevin Lincoln, Maram Domzalski, and many, many more amazing filmmakers in an absolute A-team. In this episode, we discuss the 4-part docuseries out now on MGM+, directed by Paul and Mark. We discuss Paul's entry into the subject, his thoughts now he's been involved in the subject and having spoken with the main players in the UFO field, from credentialed intel and military personnel and whistleblowers to experiencers and researchers, and if his opinion on what these UFOs may represent or where they may come from have changed. It's a wonderful conversation with a legendary filmmaker. Now, there are some parts of this audio that aren't great. There's some echo, so I do apologise for that in advance, but the majority of it should be good. It's only when I talk, and let's face it, you're not here to listen to me. So, without further ado, the following is a conversation with Paul Crowder. Well, look, thanks so much for joining me. I really, really do appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here. I enjoy your podcast and your Instagram account very, very much.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Really, really do appreciate that. My first question, really, before we get on to Beyond UFOs and the Unknown, do you ever, I mean, looking at your previous history and your films and your documentaries and your music, directing and editing, do you ever just like sit at home on your sofa and one of your shows comes up on TV? Do you ever just sit there and think, I'm good? Like I'm not, I'm not trying to.
No, I know what you mean. No, I mean that what happens once in a while, one will come on that I was like, oh, I haven't seen that in forever. Because what generally happens is you do so much work on them. You're watching them, and then they finally come out, and you're watching them like so many times every day until it's released, and then the release comes out, and you just go to a few premieres and stuff. So by the time all that's said and done, you're like, I don't want to see that film for a while. And then it's just a case of if it comes up. And there are a couple that come up. I mean, Riding Giants comes on, I get hooked myself. The Who film comes on, I get hooked. Formula One, Dogtown, I'm just like, I do feel like these are keeping my own interest, and I know everything that's coming up next, So yeah, I do enjoy that, and it's good to see them. I get bummed when they're unavailable, like man. But it's good to have worked. I've been so lucky. I'll get to do so many different things and so many things that I like to do. So it's been a great little second career after the music. This was quite a good second career that came out of the blue, completely out of the blue, and just chance meeting technology on my side and all of that, and obviously some sort of passion for it and a desire to be able to do it, and as just met the right people in the right place at the right time. Got some really good films. Yeah, it's been great.
I've never been like a massive, like I do love aviation, but I've never been like a massive fan of it. But I remember when the Blue Angels came on TV, I thought, oh, it looks good. I'll watch that. And I just thought I'm going to watch it. And I sat there with my wife and watched it, and it was just exceptional. I'm like to the point where I thought I'm going to move to America and I'm going to become a pilot. Clearly not achievable, but it's just that was incredible. But obviously,
yeah, that had the same effect on me. When I was out there filming them, and when I got the job, I was like, if I'm looking at this from the outside in, why have they picked him to do a flying movie? It doesn't seem like that, flying action film. I mean, okay, I guess I've done Formula One, but and riding giants. But anyway, it didn't seem like I was the obvious choice. So it was great to have, but when I was there, I was thinking, oh man, I wish I was 30, 40 years younger. I'd join the Navy.
Yeah.
And get this was fun, so what career to do if you think about it like that. But it's hard work. They're at it all the time, and they're traveling all the time, and it's 3-year stints, and then you move again, and then you move again, and it's very difficult. It's hard having a family life. It's hard bringing kids up. Kids are always getting moved. They make friends, move again, make friends, move again. So it's kind of tough. It's not as glamorous as it seems, but it's sure when you're in there for a year, it feels like, oh, you could do this or do this every day for years. That's wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, it's good. Great. I mean, great guys. I just texted Frank texted me today, Chomps, the number 4 pilot from the film. He was just texting me today talking about Halloween. But they stayed really good friends. They're great people. They're all very genuine, honest. They're just like you and I. They're just people. They're really not, they're not supermen or anything other than, very dedicated to what they do. But you take them out of there and they're just everybody, You wouldn't pick them out in a bar, let's say.
Yeah. Amazing. It kind of brings me on really to the ability to sort of storytell through editing. I was so impressed with that because I suppose I spend the majority of my time editing videos, and obviously nowhere near your level. I know that you edit and direct. You've done a lot of editing in the past, and edited and directed this show Beyond. It's so impressive to be able to kind of fit in like an entire century essentially into like a sort of storyline for the entirety of ufology, like into the first episode. So perhaps we can, sort of come on to that. I mean, how did you first get into, how did Beyond, how did you get into it? How did you become part of it?
Well, we'd worked on a show called UFO before, and we'd done a project about that, and then that was quite a while ago, a long time ago. And I've always had an interest. I mean, I've been dying to see them. I sit on my deck every night with a drink, just looking up and going, come on. And then someone down in Malibu was saying, oh, I saw one last night. I was like, what? I was looking. Where was it? And a lot of people have seen them around here. Still haven't. My wife's had a really serious experience where I'm convinced she must have been abducted. She just doesn't remember. But like she was driving in the car, and there was she was with three friends. There was 2 in the front, there were 2 in the back. They were half asleep coming back from a gig, and this driver just starts screaming, "It doesn't have regulation lights! Doesn't have regulation lights!" And everyone's like, "What? What are you talking about?" I go, "That!" And outside the window, about 100 feet long, 100 yards long, is this huge pink orb, cigar-shaped sort of orby thing, just flying in at the same speed as them, just outside to the right of the car, and then zips forward and goes over the road and stops. And they drive underneath it. And my wife looked out the back, and then it just took off, just zipped out of view. So I said, well, if you went underneath it, they took you out, put you back. You just don't remember. There's a lot that happens. So maybe I married an alien. I don't know. But anyway, I've always had a great interest in this project and this subject. And when the idea of doing taking another look at the UFO subjects, but this time sort of unpacking it a bit more and bringing it more into the mind and more about other experiences that are sort of sympathetic, if you like, to abductions, to seeing UFOs, out of body experiences, remote viewing, all these things that are happening essentially without perception, without mind. That was an idea that we thought would be really interesting to go into if we could get really, not too scientific, but really try and unpack the fact that how much of this is our perception. It's something we're perceiving for some reason, rather than maybe being exactly what we think, what we're saying it is. So that was, that's always the idea. Everyone comes up with the idea. We all decide, yes, this is a good idea. Who can we get? And we start reaching out to people, and we start getting very positive feedback immediately. Now, if you think about calling the government and calling a senator, Adam Schiff in this case, and Gillibrand and the others that we called, say, hey, we want to talk to you. Would you sit down for an interview for our documentary? It's about UFOs. That would never have happened before 2017. And the big exposure in the New York Times and the government coming forward with the admission of the program and releasing the Go Fast videos. All that just opened the door. That's never going back. We're at that. We're now, the genie's out the bottle. So we were able to get these very positive responses all the way. And then not too long into it, we'd been reaching out to Jacques Vallée, and he responded with a yes. And so now you're, come on, this is great. We're getting some really heavy hitters here. And then we eventually got Hal Puthoff as well. And more and more people. And we got Willie Strieber, and we got Jay King. These people have had these incredible experiences, and lifers in the, as far as Jacques Vallée and Hal Puthoff, these guys have been in the program for decades, Project Blue Book and beyond, so they know literally where all the alien bodies are buried, if you like. There's so much information they have, and they've all had experiences too. These aren't people that are just doing it on a whim. They've seen them, they've had their own experiences, which has led them down this path. And Jacques Vallée has some incredible ideas about all of it, and going back through all the Bible and pulling that apart and sort of describing how Ezekiel's passage in the Bible about seeing these wheels upon wheels in the air, and then disappearing from where he was and ending up on another hillside somewhere. Sound to me like you just got abducted. You saw it, So making these observations and these correlations, and then you have people like Gary Nolan that we got to speak to, who take it to the scientific level and start breaking it down scientifically. And they're people that turns out they had experiences. Gary Nolan has the revelation. Is no spoiler in episode 2, but he has this revelation when he sees the communion cover. That, wait a minute, I saw that one of those. I thought I was dreaming. So, and he's just one of millions of people that have had these experiences that were always too afraid to say something. And now they're not. No one's afraid anymore. Now you can talk about it without being laughed at, or your career going down the pan or anything. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's okay to speak about. It's a positive subject. They've even got classes. Colleges now where you can take UFO classes.
Yeah.
So it's really has, the landscape on this subject has just blown up, and so that made this a very, very enticing project to get involved with and want to do it. So and having Mark Monroe as a partner, and he's such a great writer and storyteller himself, and he and I have worked together for 25 plus years. It's always fun working together and getting stuff. We always manage to find the way to tell the story where you get the information across, but you entertain the audience at the same time. You keep them compelled, keep them leaning in, give them a reason to stay for the next 5 minutes.
You make a good point there about sort of the entertainment side of it, and I know that we get a lot of people, the UFO community, if you want to call it that, they're just, very set on, we just want data, we just want information. It's like, well, no, from my perspective, like, you need to have something really engaging and really entertaining to draw people in. Like, we want everybody, we want everybody looking at this. And I think certainly from episode 1, you've managed to get that real beautiful mix between entertainment and, you know, information, informing people and bringing that all together. Yeah, I mean, it's exceptional. It really is. What's the sort of plan as the episodes go on? Is it sort of a subject per episode, or is it a mixture? How does it kind of evolve?
I think, well, but what basically happens is it kind of the story evolves itself. So we start with UFOs. We come back in episode 2, where we introduce Jacques Vallée at this point, and we go through his history with the subject and expand on some of his theories and his ideas, and then end up with Whitley Strieber, who naturally takes us into abductions. So then from the abduction side of it, we move through there and into episode 3, we go, other people have had similar abductions into near-death experience, out-of-body experiences now, which then takes us through to remote viewing, etc. And then by the end of episode 4, we kind of sort of try and bring everything back together and tie it all back together, if you like. And so it's just a natural journey, basically through the mind, what our minds are capable of, and what these things that are happening. And people trying to, you got to remember, you know, nobody was sort of like, oh, look, I'm having this weird experience, let me film it, you know, or I'm having an out-of-body experience. You can't film that stuff. You can't, you're in a somewhat of a dream state. Try to recollect it correctly and clearly and in a fashion that it makes sense to you or I, the people listening to them telling their story. That's a very difficult thing for us to always, how do we put this on television? You know, how do we portray this visually? And you've got to be very careful with your reenactments and the things you try to do. So I didn't want to put actors pretending to be these people in the reenactments. We kind of went with empty rooms and sort of try to create the idea that you're in the place, and then make something visual happen without even trying to mimic exactly what happened to them. Just, you know, here's a room with something weird happening, just that, you know, just get you in a kind of a sense of the mood that they're going through. But, you know, it's a very difficult thing to do when you get to that point, and like, how do you tell these stories visually? But it's really fascinating how these people and different people react. Like, you know, with Jay, it cost him his marriage. He had an experience with his wife, and she didn't want to talk about it. I need to know more about this. You know, I don't think this was the first time. Now I think about it. You know, that kind of thing. So, it's I can't remember where we started, but anyway, but that's kind of where the episodes kind of just divulge on each other. They just end up coming around and ending up with a, you know, as I say, try to not tie it off in a bow, but kind of make everything connect and make sense by the end.
Yeah.
But also where we are now. I mean, the really frustrating about doing this is that, you know, when you're in the mix, when you're doing the final color and you're sort of like watching the last thing down, I'm you know, looking at my phone all the time. I'm seeing what you're posting and other folk are posting, and what the news, oh my God, this is a great new video, or can we get this in? There's this, oh, this quote has just come from somewhere. What's this? You know, and you want to know more and more and more. You know, we didn't get into crop circles, but, you know, there's so much to cover. That I'm very open for us to do more episodes after this 4, hopefully, if the response is good, because there is so much more to cover. You know, so many more stories. The stuff that's so similar and yet in so many different places, and at the same time, so-called men in black or weird people start showing up hours or in the most remote place after this happens. Suddenly there are people there are going, got any pictures? What happened to the camera? Who's got the camera? This, and all these things disappear very quickly, or people start getting followed, and you know, you wonder where the connection is in all of that. You know, the school kids in Australia, the ones in Africa, the England. There's these plethora of like multiple people saw it. Teachers taking photographs, and then the cameras disappear. You know, there's so much to talk about. So you know, we could have made easy 10 episodes, but we just did the 4.
That is a shame. I would have loved 10 episodes. That would have been amazing. I really, I mean, I appreciate it. I've only seen episode 1, but you know, it's wonderful to have like people taking it seriously. And I think certainly from our from sort of my side of the fence, kind of looking in, being a viewer, having people like yourself and your team that have worked on this, taking this, like really getting these great people together and putting these shows together is just incredible. Because we're getting most of our content from YouTube and from Twitter and from Instagram, wherever it is, and getting pieces from all over the place. So it's wonderful to have it all kind of put together and have a bit of a catch up, and then where else, what the little rabbit holes can we go down?
Yeah, I mean, we felt like we really needed to put the audience in episode 1 as to where we are now and where it started and how this, genie got let out the bottle and everything. So, while it was a little bit familiarly trodden territory, if you like, it was something it was very necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. But we're pulling our videos from YouTube and that we're seeing things here and there, and sometimes we're fair using a lot of the stuff that we're doing. So it's tricky to get the best stuff. And as I say, you always find another clip, a better clip, when you're done. Oh, we've just sent episode 1, but there are these 3 better clips that we could have used. You're always thinking of that. That's the thing about editing when you're putting all this stuff together. Is you're always thinking about the better shot. What else can we do? What can I do to make it better? Is there a better piece of music? Or what about if we did, try to make the audience jump here instead? Or, just little things like that where when you do see something and you think, oh, that's not in the show. Why isn't that? We should have, there's so much that's going on that you think it's so obvious sometimes. It's like when you have the realization that you've missed something staring you in the face and you haven't used it, or you haven't gone down taken out that question on or whatever, you do get frustrated. But as I say, you can't do everything. You're full of what you've got, and you're just trying to make the hour or 45, 50 minutes that you've got work and make sense. Because that's the key thing, is if you don't keep the audience engaged, they're not going to get to episode 2.
Yeah. Have you, after interviewing all of these people, all these different credible people, and looking at all of the material that you have, and researching as you do for what to put in the different episodes, have you narrowed down your opinion of what this might represent now? Has it taken you in a certain direction? I appreciate it's quite speculative, but are you sort of veering in one direction at all?
Well, like I say, I was all in. I was all in. This is real. They're from outer space. They're flying across the billions of galaxies. I saw it in Close Encounters. That's how they do it. It just and now I'm more confused, having listened to so much more information and had so many more scientific views thrown at me and ideas of this, that, and the other. Now I have a much broader appreciation for what it might be. I still feel though that with the interdimensional stuff that I hadn't even thought of. Jacques Vallée was writing about that in the 60s, but he had to make it fiction because he couldn't write about it as a scientist because he would have got ridiculed. But he wrote a book in the 60s that is basically multiversing that DC Comics love to do now, so they can pay all their actors to be in one film and play the same part. I think the idea of multiversing, or being able to traverse dimensions, and therefore that's how they're getting across that amount of space or time or whatever, those distances that are impossible. Now I go, well, that makes it feel like, okay, that's a lot more obvious. I can literally get my head around that, that kind of idea. So yeah, maybe they are coming. Are they already here, living among us? Are they guiding us in some way? I mean, the interesting stories is the ones where they're always showing up at the nuclear sites, and when they're trying to launch nuclear weapons, even in testing, they see the orbs show up and then the silos won't work, they won't open, and they lose complete control over them. And there's multiple instances of that happening. So you wonder then, is that somebody from another country that has the technology to do this to us, or is this somebody somewhere else going, hey guys, slow down, careful. So that's always an interesting thing to speculate on, or to discuss at least. But yeah, the interdimensional thing is the stuff that really sort of blew my mind and made me look at it a little bit different, because of the way they, the scientists are talking about it rather than it being science fiction, being actual possibilities. That really sort of makes me really lean in a little harder there. I'm like, okay. So I'm still waiting for them to interdimensionate outside my house, because I'm dying to see. I saw a couple of satellites recently, and I saw a rocket taking off when I was up in Fraser Park in August. This thing, unbelievable. Like, I thought, this is it. I'm seeing one. I was having this whole like, oh God, look at the light colors. And there was this thing that didn't, and then for a split second, it had that little, wait, that might be a rocket tail thing vibe. Yeah. And I had this horrible, my heart sank. I went, no, I'm going to go with the first part. I'm going, because that was definitely unexplainable to me. And then I mentioned it to Arnie in the morning, and he said, oh yeah, they were rocketing last night. I got a couple of things on my phone letting me know they were going to be doing that in the end. I was like, oh, it's a rocket, damn it. But it was, I'm just desperate to see it. Really, really am. But have you seen one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, it was similar. Like, spent so much time. I take the dogs out for for the sort of toilet time before bed, and I always spend 5-10 minutes just staring up at the sky, and never seen anything. And I talk to people for hours about their sightings, and I just really want to see something. And then one night, yeah, just it was like a light. I thought like a star initially, like it started here and just started going across the sky really quickly, and then stopped, almost stopped, like very, very slow, and then sort of flashed a big pulse of light and then continued off. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, it's conventional. What is it? Okay, so is it satellites? Satellites don't do that. Is it a star? Stars don't do that. Is it a rocket? Rockets don't do it. And I'm checking the apps and stuff, and nothing's sort of making sense. So I don't know what it is. I can't give it a conventional explanation, and it felt weird. And it was right after I did an interview with Jack Sarfati, and it had been a marathon because we'd interviewed 2 people in a row, and Jack was the last one, and it went on for like 2 hours, like a 2-hour podcast talking to him, and it was just chaos. And that was straight after. So I'm going to go to bed, let the dogs out, and that happened. It just, yeah, strange.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and exactly. I mean, I've seen some things where mostly it's shooting stars. Another time where I was like, it's a satellite, damn it. Mm-hmm. There's the not SpaceX, what's it called? The Elon's satellites that Starlink. That guy goes over here, and it's like the 6 lights in a row come right through here quite regularly. So that's always a bummer, because first time I saw that, I had just seen the thing about the Arizona lights, and I thought, oh, there it is. And then it was like, Starlink, you idiot. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So too gullible, too desperate for it to be real. So that always lends into it as well. So I'm very, it needs to literally come out and go, I'm on a UFO.
Yeah.
I'll be but it's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm absolutely.
Can you watch the show in England, or have they sent you a link?
Yeah, I've got a link. Yeah, I think that was one of the questions actually. Quite a few people have asked. You mainly European people. How do they view it? And because I think MGM Plus is sort of region locked to certain areas.
Well, I think it's regionally locked to the USA at the minute. I mean, I don't want to say but VPNs work.
Yeah.
That's one way. I watch BBC iPlayer that way. No, I don't. But I don't know who carries it. I think some of the stuff that ends up like on Hulu is carried by Paramount Plus, and some of it's on Sky Plus or Sky, Atlantic or something. I'm not sure who's picking up beyond. We have posed the question, but I never got an answer. So sadly, I don't know what network's going to carry it, but hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the moment on my Instagram account, the main question I would get from people is, I've seen this. Is this a real UFO? Is this a real UAP? That used to be, and now the show started. The main question is, how can I watch this show? I'm not sure. I'll find out for you.
Yeah. I mean, I it a bunch as well. Thanks so much for coming over and doing that. It was nice last minute flip to Washington, which was
Yeah, that was amazing. I should just say, when I early on, I was in a Zoom meeting with you, and I'd got like an email, and I was a number of names CC'd in, and I'm a bit obsessive. Like, I look to see all of the names that are in there, and I didn't see your name in there, and I think you'd popped in last minute, and I saw your name. I think I recognize that name. I quickly wrote it down on a piece of paper as I was talking, and when the Zoom meeting finished, and I like, sort of Googled your name, it's like, I know, that's how I know. I was like, oh, but at that point, I knew this is going to be great. Like, the team is exceptional. Everybody involved is exceptional. And I know that you are, and I know that your previous work is just fantastic. So to be, even a small part of it is just, amazing. And thank you. Genuinely.
Well, it was
Thank you so much.
really great for you to help us out, in a little bit, helping us out at the end there with the research as well, not only with your contribution with the interview. You were very, very helpful. For me, I just wish we had got, better UFO footage all the time. I was just looking for some of the really good stuff. Occasionally, we couldn't find the owner. And if you can't find the owner and you don't want to risk, sometimes they're low risk and you can use it and you've done due diligence, and other times it could be high risk. So you can't use those. You're always looking for the best footage that you want to be able to, while we're talking about UFOs, show the UFO stuff that has been looked at, and sort of not debunked, the stuff that's like, there's no explanation for this. This is authentic. It really happened. We know the person that shot it, that kind of information. So we try to include as much as that as we can. We did take some liberties with some little bits of reenactment CGI on the orb stuff that was happening to Ryan Graves and his friends, but more to give the audience more of a sense of what they must have gone through to see, it looked like that. Can you imagine flying next to that and a circle with black squares inside it? And go, how is that moving? It looks like a Rubik's Cube inside a big bubble. And how's it moving the way it is? And there's 7 of them and blah, blah, blah. That's got to freak anyone out who's up there flying 400 miles an hour in a big, huge, F-18 Super Hornet or whatever they're flying. Big aircraft that doesn't have the capability to move that this thing seems to be able to have. They're coming straight at me and flying past me like this. I can't, what evasive maneuvers can I possibly do? Hey, I'll call the bosses. And they were like, no, we don't want to talk about it. Well, no, it's happening out there. No, we're not talking about it. That's where the problem was. And that's why they came forward, was because we're up there and not even our superiors want to talk about it and help us out. So, hey, everybody, this is happening. It took Chris Mellon had to steal the videos and give them to the newspapers to get them out there. That's ridiculous that he had to do that. That it couldn't, they didn't think it was worthy of actually letting people know what's going on. I mean, these are the people who like trying to protect our shores, and they're not getting protected themselves by the people that they're, essentially working for, if you like. It was a really crazy situation. So it's wonderful that these people have had the balls, if you like, to do this, to really go for it and come forward and screw everything. I'm going to tell my story. So it's been brilliant for everybody, and all these agencies that keep changing their acronyms all the time, and then they don't, and then they do exist, they don't exist. Like Kirkpatrick doing his thing and throwing everyone under the bus. It's such a strange thing to do, after everyone said, yes, it is real, and then now it's not. Just makes you really wonder what is going on over there, But now with Arrow is essentially more connected to all the other agencies. They're talking to each other, whereas in the past, there was 5 agencies and no one was communicating. They were all part of different things. So at least with that, it's now connected. So there's more of a open dialogue through the different agencies, so they can share the information. So hopefully we'll get to know more and more. And there are hearings coming up, right?
Yeah, 13th of November, I believe. Yeah, 13th of November, chaired by Nancy Mace, Rep Nancy Mace. I'm really hopeful. I think many people are hopeful that we get something from that. Fingers crossed. Like you say, new leadership in Arrow now, and a new sort of structure. We can but hope it's not a Blue Book 2.0.
Yeah, it seems to be one of the most interesting things about this subject is it's one of the few subjects that brings people from both sides of the aisle into the middle, and they're not fighting with each other. They're just all got the same questions and want the same answers. And, you know, then they'll go back and Congress start talking about other things, and they'll be, you know, 180 degrees apart. But here, they're all, yes, well, that's right. You asked that question. I was going to ask that question, you know. So I love that. I love that it's a subject that brings more people together than diversifies and or polarizes or anything. I think the other side of you have to look at it as to why there might be so pushback, and where do the Men in Black derive from, or what's this? Who's set to lose out the most by this? Who's going to really, you know, what's going to be the biggest connotations if they suddenly present a Grey and go, well, here's Stephen the Grey that we've been working with him for many years. Is religions, all religion, you know, if their religions are based on, you know, made in God's image, now you've got that's a big problem right there. You know, they've already had to figure out how to include dinosaurs into some of these stories. So I think that's, you know, there's such a financial business in religion as well. I'm not trying to put it down. I'm not saying, but that does become a thing. Everyone who's had faith in God, and suddenly that's all blown out the water. The fact that there are these other creatures. But I think in episode 1, I'm pretty sure it's in episode 1. Tim
Timberchair,
he states that, you know, it's pretty arrogant of us to think that this animal is the best God can do. So, you know, there is an angle that you could take, being all part of God's creatures. So I suppose to that degree it could be used. But I just wonder if some of the pushback in coming forward with this is because the church is a little, you know, reticent to wanting that information to be out there.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. I think there's a mixture of that, and also the sort of financial element from companies that may have got some of the technology and had a head start in advance, and then the potential of the other companies that might have gone bust, going, okay, well, I'm entitled to 50 billion then because we didn't get that hand up, and there could be this massive, you know, huge biggest lawsuits we've ever seen. So that could be another little angle. I'm not sure. I'd love to know.
Yeah, I mean, and then if it's say these orbs that are out there right now, and it's us, or it's human-made, it's man-made, that means there's a whole realm of scientists working not with other scientists, not sharing scientific breakthroughs, and that becomes a difficult thing if you're a scientist. How can you not share the information with your peers, you know, when you've got you know, we've just blown the socks off E = mc squared, if you like, with this thing that we've now discovered. Then not that that's possible, but I'm just saying, you know, there's something that just changes the whole perception of everything. Why wouldn't they share it with their peers? That's another thing that you think, oh, that makes me feel like it can't be human made, because, you know, the smartest minds in the world, somebody would know. They would know too. They say they don't. They say they don't.
Paul, I'm conscious of your time. Look, I really do appreciate you talking to me, and I appreciate the project and being able to sort of be a part of it as well. And I'm so looking forward to the rest of it. And I really, really do hope we get like another season and we start diving into crop circles, and we dive into, you know, all of the other stuff that's out there, because there's just so much. There's so many rabbit holes, and it's all linked. You know, it's all sort of, there's links everywhere. It
really feels like it, and that's what makes this subject just fascinating, because you can just keep drifting off down different roads, and it's all like it's not lunacy. It's really interesting. It's really sort of gets your mind thinking, and I love that. So yeah, I hope we get that. I get to do more, because I'd love to. And you know, happy to chat with you anytime, Jimmy. It's always been a pleasure.
Thanks again, Paul. Brilliant. Thank you. Take care. Speak soon.
Speak soon. Have a good one. Peace.
Cheers.